China has been in a state of alert for 8 consecutive months. Plus the Yagi storm, it is worth advising people in China who cannot help in time. People have been swept away by floods and are trapped. Rescue workers are trying to rescue them. China is facing an unprecedented emergency. The continuous heavy rain has raised water levels at dams in Hainan, pushing the flood prevention system into a critical state. Faced with unbearable pressure, China was forced to open the emergency floodgate. But the disaster doesn't stop there. Right now, Storm Yagi, with wind gusts of over 200 kilometers per hour, has been sweeping across the southern region. China and towards northern Vietnam. The consequences of the flood discharge combined with Typhoon Yagi created a terrible flood situation. Hanoi and the northern provinces of Vietnam have been severely affected. Chinese ships were swept away by floods and submerged underwater. Before your eyes is the image of a ship being swept away uncontrollably on the floodwaters. It was a heartbreaking scene as pieces of the ship began to sink under the bridge, creating a terrifying scene. The faint cries for help from the ship and the flickering light from the electric lights made the situation more tense than ever. This is the scene under the bridge, where the floodwaters are rising and washing away everything. The bridge piers are being impacted by huge columns of water, shaking the whole area. This chaos is not only a challenge to the bridge structure, but also a life and death battle for those remaining on the ship. Many Chinese ships were swept away by floods in the south. Nearly 1,000 ships were submerged, and they were buried under bridges. In the mountainous areas of Vietnam, landslides occurred in many unrecognizable areas due to flooding. The flood came too quickly. The storm came again. Everything became terrible.
Hết đường về.
All roads in this area were completely blocked because of serious landslides after days of continuous heavy rain. The scene before our eyes was truly a nightmare. Tons of rock and soil had fallen from high mountains, blocking all main roads connecting to the affected areas. Roads that were once anticipated to change have become giant rock walls.
Dây điện tránh à. Ôi, xuống hết cả cái đồi, tiếc luôn. Xong, khỏi phải đi. May là còn chưa qua đấy.
Soon, many people had evacuated to a safe place because their houses were buried under mud. The mountainous area along the river has suffered from houses being destroyed. Typhoon Yagi in Hainan City area turned the road and city into a sea. Rescue teams are tireless to rescue people.
Trời ơi, cứu kìa. Sợ quá đi. Đi một tí. Trời xin kìa. Ôi trời ơi. Mọi người xuống đi. Mọi người xuống đi, xuống cứu đi.
The cars drifted away to the sea. The flood became stronger and stronger, sweeping everything in its path under terrible pressure. Small trucks try their best to hit the road. The roads have now become dangerous flood rivers filled with despair and panic. Many people have braved everything, trying to cross the rushing floodwaters to return home, hoping to find their families and his friends. We are witnessing a terrible, unprecedented disaster in Hainan City, China. Typhoon Yagi turned this whole city into a deadly sea. Familiar roads and bustling residential areas are now deep under turbid water. Storms and death seem to be covering this place where 1,000 cars have drifted away. The daily road has now become a rushing stream. People just stand and wait for the rescue team to arrive. Then standing on the car, it floats like a boat. The fruit that had not yet been flooded was taken away without any harm. The car is sitting inside the car, swept to From Hainan City, China, which is in the midst of a real nightmare, we are witnessing an unprecedented scene as the daily roads, which are the lifeblood of the city's traffic, have now turned into raging streams. The floodwaters rose and flowed with uncontrollable force, carrying away everything in its path. At this moment, the water was nearly 5 meters high and hit the small village. A man floating down the river was successfully rescued by surrounding people. Right now in Hainan City, China, rescue work is taking place in an extremely tense and dangerous situation. Faced with the terrible devastation of Typhoon Yagi and severe flooding, the government had to deploy up to 10 helicopters to rescue people trapped in the fierce waters. We hope that the rescuers' efforts will bring more miracles. A distant scene of a woman trying to save the fire was those being carried away by the wind. lucky dog that was blown into the sky by a whirlwind was found in a tree, and the dog is very safe. The roof of the house was blown away by the gust of wind in half a second. What we just witnessed can be said to be the most deadly and terrible moment in this storm and flood. A tall house built on a mountainside suddenly collapsed completely within just a second. Like and share this video so that more people can receive important and timely information. Thank you for your support. See you again in the next newsletters.